Hello, welcome to the Joy Business Report. Coming up this morning, fuel prices may fall beginning tomorrow, November 16, but that could be thwarted by the recent depreciation of the cedi. Also coming up, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to announce new measures aimed at growing the economy and possible review in taxes as he presents the 2024 budget in Parliament today. Plus, Food and Beverages Association urges government to address rigidities in the processing, manufacturing and agricultural sectors. Details coming up. My name is Daryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Hello to our friends listening from Kofi Radio and KTU Radio. It's budget day today. We'll bring you more stories on that. First, though, we're taking a look at fuel prices, which we expect to go down beginning tomorrow, November 16. However, that could be thwarted by the recent depreciation of the cedi during the last few weeks. Now, according to the Institute for Energy Security, it's just ended first pricing window. The Ghana cedi depreciated by 0.86% and 1.32% respectively in the second pricing window for October 2023. Presently, petrol is going for 12 cedis, 89 pesos on the average, whilst diesel is selling at 13 cedis, 10 pesos. We'll keep our eyes on that for you, see how that plays out as we go into tomorrow. But today, the rollout of policy measures to expand the economy, support for the private sector and the review in tax measures will feature highly in the budget presentation. These issues are the key actions Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will touch on as he appears before Parliament today to present the budget. Here's George Afil with more.
One thing is clear. What the Finance Minister will present today will be guided by the IMF program, which seeks to reduce Ghana's rising debt stock and mobilize more revenue. Now, signing up to the IMF program comes with some measures that should aid in the release of fresh disbursement by the fund to Ghana, subject to meeting some of these targets. One of them is taking some practical actions to mobilize more revenue. This would therefore see the Finance Minister review government's tax measures in the 2024 budget. The macro and economic targets will also be reviewed in line with the IMF program. Government is hoping to use the Growth and Prosperity Program to support and aid in the expansion of the private sector for next year. There will also be more update on the fiscal numbers ending this year and how they are planning to sustain the recovery of the economy going into next year. We also understand that the Finance Minister will not be announcing those massive projects associated with an election year. According to government, they would rather be looking at completing the existing projects before their second term comes to an end. The minister is also expected to announce some extra measures that will help contain expenditure. Many looking at the proposed tax reviews that the minister will announce, it looks like the push by businesses for government to scrap some of the taxes might not be realized.
Well, that was George Afil with that report. Economist Professor Butexin is urging the government to use the 2024 budget to maintain economic recovery being witnessed in the country by reviewing some taxes to support the private sector to expand. He believes this is the surest way to sustain the current economic trajectory. Already, the business community is asking for a reduction in taxes as well as a congenial environment to operate. Now, speaking to Joy Business, Professor Texan said the budget must inspire hope for the private sector.
We need to provide support to the private sector. And I expect this budget to announce some new relief for the private sector, since they should be the focus of all agenda that we have towards growth. And as we speak, we know the business environment, the cost of doing business in this country, the taxes are a lot. And these are the sort of things that we hear the finance minister announce. I expect also that being an election year and under a fund program, the fund will keep the edge up on the government's financing of election promises and what we call the manifesto promises. I expect that there will be a tap on that. There is no reason why we need to sacrifice the recovery that we've made so far ever since we went to the fund for support last year.
You heard economist Professor Ebu Texen. Now, the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana is urging government not to sacrifice microeconomic policies which form the basis for the economy as it heads towards reviving the economy next year. According to its chief executive, Robert Jatto, players in the micro sector, which forms majority of the real economy, need some support in order to enhance growth. He spoke to Joy Business ahead of the budget presentation by the finance minister.
Our expectation of the budget is that any economic policy of government must be important to our industry because the banking industry is a catalyst for economic development. So we'll pay attention to the budget very carefully. But we certainly expect certainty that the macroeconomic indicators will trend in the right direction. But whilst we are keen on seeing the macro, we shouldn't sacrifice the micro, which is the real business, is the real economy. So we expect some policies that will support the real economy. But most importantly, the certainty that we all need to be able to plan because our stakeholders and banks need to strategize and need to be able to have the certainty to operate.
You heard Robert Jatto, who is Chief Executive of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Ghana. Executive Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, John Awuni, has called on government to address rigidities in the processing, manufacturing and agriculture sectors in the 2024 budget. According to him, government must put in place enhanced mechanisms to improve irrigation and the processing of produce to increase production and reduce prices for the consumer. He spoke to Joy Business at the pre-budget dialogue series organized by the University of Professional Studies, Accra.
A country that has no control over its water resource in terms of its food supply is a country that is at a great threat for food insecurity. So clearly the government must look at how we can be able to enhance our water resources, improve our irrigation system, even if it has to do with boreholes here and there and all that. And that is very, very good that the government earlier on talked about the one village, one dam thing. It is something that has to really be looked at again and be enforced and ensure that our irrigation system is well improved upon. Then again, the rigidities in the area of processing. Processing is a very major factor in our agricultural process. So if you go and produce a product and then it is not well processed, for instance, in this country we deal with long grain rice. So if you don't have good quality processing machines that will be able to process the rice, separate the broken rice from the long grain, and then grade it well.
That was Executive Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, John Awuni. Chief Economist and Head of Economic Research Department at the Development Bank Ghana, DBG, Dr. Kwabena Opunifempong, says the Ghana Commodity Exchange needs massive reform to ensure food security. According to him, the Commodity Exchange needs to become an aggregator in the agri sector to not only provide inputs and materials necessary to facilitate the farmers' work, but to collect all produce during harvest. He made this known to Joy Business after presenting the findings of the bank's multi-stakeholder value chain workshops held across the country.
Frankly speaking, I think that GCX should be the center of everything that we do in agriculture. If we really want to reduce the volatility, in prices, at some points, some work that we did earlier, maize prices can triple, from by 300% within the period of harvesting the lean season. This is totally unacceptable. That establishing GCX or maybe some regulation within the law. One would be to work with the Ministry of Agriculture to look at all the aggregators, that we have within the agriculture ecosystem. And here what I mean is that these aggregators would have to be registered and would have to be certified, as real aggregators that, GCS can work with.
Chief Economist, Head of Economic Research at the Development Bank Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Opunifempong. Now, sports gaming company BetPawa has reiterated its commitment to support Ghana's sports economy. Speaking to Joy Business at a ceremony to award a check of 6 million cedis to Fuseni, the biggest winner ever on the BetPawa Africa platform, country marketing manager Joseph Bedu said BetPawa Ghana will support the development of sports in the country whilst empowering the youth.
So for me, this whole event